The pharmaceutical industry in the last 100 years has transformed our lives. You see on the screen a few of the molecules that you know well, because either you have used them, you are using them, or somebody you know and you love has been or is using them. I would assert that 10, maybe 20% of this room will not be here today if we did not have the pharmaceutical industry. You will be homesick, in the hospital sick, you might be dead already, or you might have never existed because your parents or your grandparents will have died before you were conceived. The thing that is awful about the pharma industry is how slow and inefficient the process of making a new medicine to the finish line to helping patients is. Every molecule is different, and if you change just one atom on that molecule, you have to redo everything. You have to redo preclinical animal trials for efficacy, for safety, then you have to do clinical trials, and because of this trial and error process, it takes literally millions of molecules to get one to the finish line. Many of you have seen this graph before. I like to call it the Las Vegas graph. Meaning it's like Vegas, you don't win often, but when you win, you win. It's not very easy to build a business when you don't know when you're going to win. So the question we asked ourselves a few years ago in Boston is, what if one could make a digital medicine? And I need to ground some of you into a bit of molecular biology. As a note, this is taught in 6th grade now. My daughter just learned that last winter. So this is the cycle of biology, your DNA, where all the information for all the protein in your body are stored. And anytime your cell needs one protein, it makes a copy of only the recipe for that one protein from the big book of life that has all your 22,000 protein encoded. It makes one copy, it goes to a machine called your ribosome, who's going to just make that protein. So until around the 1920s, if you had a protein deficiency-based disease, so think diabetes, type 1, your pancreas doesn't make insulin anymore, you had a death sentence. We could do nothing for you. In the 20s, Eli Lilly and the University of Toronto find a way to isolate pig insulin, which is pretty close to human, to purify it and to inject into people and saved people's life. People lived 60, 70, 80 years old with that technology. And then in the 70s, at the time, a small startup based in California called Genentech, which of course became a highly successful company, started the whole revolution of making protein in the reactors, in factories. And the idea was take the human sequence of a protein, like human insulin, put it in a bacteria, make the bacteria make a lot of human insulin protein in a tank, in a reactor, isolate it, put it in a syringe, go inject a patient. There are 22,000 protein in your body. There are less than 200 products that have been approved in the last 40 years. It's not very, very efficient. Why? Because making protein is really, really hard. So then people tried what was gene therapy. Injecting DNA inside your body so you will make the whole cascade by yourself. Well, it didn't go very well. As of today, 30 years after, one product has been approved in Europe. It doesn't sell much. Nothing has been approved in the US. And there's a new technology that is very exciting that we love for research called CRISPR. Dan talked about it, which some companies are trying to take to the clinic. There's going to be a lot of technical, ethical, safety issues because you will need to see a lot of data, including the regulators, before you're going to allow a company to go and just cut the genes of your kid or yourself forever. So what we try to think about is, could you go in between? Could you make a synthetic messenger RNA, the copy of only that gene that you need to be healthy again, make that in a reactor, and inject that to you so you make your own protein like if you were healthy? It was a totally crazy idea at the time because we were all taught in grad school that you could not do an mRNA drug because it was highly immunogenic, giving you flu-like symptoms, not very good for medicine if you end up being sick like if you had the flu. And it was thought to be very unstable, just a few seconds. So not very good if you have to inject yourself every minute the drug. But there were new scientific discovery made that made us believe that maybe this time 30, 40, 50 years after the first basic discovery of messenger RNA, maybe it was time to make a drug out of it. So the idea is very simple. You think about mRNA like software. The difference between the mRNA coding for insulin and the mRNA coding for EPO is just the sequence of those letters on that message. It's like softwares. Instead of zeros and one, you have 4 letters. It's the same thing. So and you use the human as a protein factory, which we thought was pretty cool. So we started Moderna on the premise of if this was going to be true, 3 things will happen. Number 1, we could make protein inside your cells. The biotech industry has done wonder for patients over the last 40 years, but what they can do is protein that circulates in your blood, which only represent around 1/3 of a protein that you need to be healthy. 2/3 of a protein that you need cannot be drugged using existing technologies. The other thing that we can do using messenger RNA is we can make combinations. A lot of the diseases that you end up having are very complicated. One protein doesn't do the trick. You need 2, 3, 4, sometimes more proteins in a single dose. If you were to do it using existing technology, because you cannot mix recombinant protein in a single dose, you have to have several injections, and the cost would be totally prohibitive. But we have shown you can mix 6, 7, 8 messenger RNA in a single dose without any technical problem. It will be much faster, which will have a huge implication on cost, obviously, because instead of taking years to do discovery, which is a part before you take the drug into clinical trials, we have shown we can do it down to 6 months. Some drugs take longer, but our internal record at the company is to go from an idea into a meeting room to a drug ready to move into development in 6 months. Why? Because mRNA is like software. Because you use exactly the same manufacturing process, so you don't have to reinvent it every time like you do for protein. You just use the same process, you just change the letters on your software. So that drives a cheaper cost, and as we know, there's a big problem with cost of healthcare drugs. It's in the news all the time. The other thing, which was the icing on the cake, is because you would use that same process, you would use that same factory, and so the cost of goods of those molecules were going to be very, very low. So, because nobody had done messenger RNA drugs, we thought that we, most probably, were at the beginning of a 15, 20-year A-shaped learning curve. If you think about any technology that mankind has touched, electricity, semiconductor, it all goes through a S-shaped curve. At the beginning, the performance is pretty bad, and as you put smart people working together, learning about that technology, they improve it. It goes through an exponential phase, and then it kind of plateaus. So where you see the red dot is where we think we are. But what we said is, if we want to win at this game, the key is going to be simple. It's not going to be smarter than anybody else. It's going to have to learn faster than anybody else. And we set the bar at 10x, because it was just an easy one to communicate about and think about. And this drove 2 things for us. First, we said a few years ago, we have to build the first truly digital biotech company with boatload of IT, the whole company on the cloud, deep learning, everything automated. Automate as much as you can because you can scale automation. The second thing we said is let's create a network effect, like we've learned from the tech industry. And I will come back to the network effect in a minute by setting a lot of partnerships so that you can not only learn from the drugs you develop for yourself, but you learn from all the drugs you're developing for your partners. So this is how we set the company. So first thing on IT and automation. What we realized in the first months building the company is it's always the same to do a messenger RNA drug design because it's like software. Once you made the first one, then you just, again, change the base. And we said, let's make the product in a few weeks, and let's build the manufacturing for that. And let's make sure, because biology is complicated, that when scientists have a great idea to go after a drug, that they don't feel they are limited, like they are today, by how many different drugs they can try for the same disease. If they think they need to try 15, 20, 30, 40 drugs at the same time for, let's say, insulin, they can. So what we did is we built the first drug design studio, and I'm going to ask the team to please put the video on.
Moderna's modified messenger RNA creates therapeutic proteins and, like software, contains instructions which direct cellular ribosomal machinery. The Drug Design Studio accelerates the drug development process by enabling scientists to design, optimize, and order mRNA therapeutics in minutes for delivery in weeks through an encrypted web portal and secure private cloud. A scientist can select any protein in the human proteome, design novel proteins like antibodies, traps, or fusion proteins, or explore previously undruggable pathways. Users can design the mRNA to tune protein expression, target specific tissues, and optimize mRNA properties. The studio integrates with Moderna's automation platforms, directing orders through each phase of mRNA synthesis. Once the order is placed, the scientist will receive the mRNA drug in just weeks. The Drug Design Studio is the front end to Moderna's highly scalable, fully automated, high-throughput mRNA production facility, allowing users to design and begin production of one or dozens of constructs in a matter of minutes.
Thank you. And so we started to build the robotics as well. And of course, you cannot go and buy an mRNA robots because they don't exist. And so we decided to just build them. And so we basically built a team of incredible engineers who designed the parts, who designed the machines. One day I was so happy, one of the top engineers came to me and was like, would you mind if I buy a 3D printer? I'm going to be my guest, go for it, buy the best one. Since then, we have 4 or 5 3D printers making different materials. And if they can buy a part, they buy the part. If it's a part that doesn't exist, they just make it and they just build the machine. So they have done really incredible stuff. And this is kind of working. If you look at what we've done over the last 3 years of the company, since early 2013, we have improved the performance of our technology by 1,000-fold. That's the same dose of messenger RNA you inject in a mouse or a monkey, exactly the same protein, just a different generation of the mRNA. Think about it like this. We're thinking about our company as an operating system, and you just have different versions of the technology as you improve them, and you just go back at it and make, yet again, another molecule. I have never run a business before where the team have improved performance by 1,000x, which has its own challenges, trust me. The second piece, which I think is critical to where we have been so far, and especially where we are going, is the network effect that we have been able to create. And the idea was very simple, was to say, if we're going to go through a S-shaped curve, we're going to have those different versions of a platform, the operating system, 1, 2, 3, 4, like your phone. And that's going to create an abundance of products that we're going to take to the clinic, either ourselves through what we call our Moderna Ventures, or our partners. And every time you sign a partner, you create a network effect, because if Merck comes in and gives you $100 million, and Astra come in with $250 million, and Vertex, and the Gates Foundation, every time you are able to invest a much higher amount of capital in your platform that you can then spread and basically give back to everybody in their respective fields. So what we have done is, in the last 5 years, is create this ecosystem where at the center you have the OS, the mRNA technology platform in red. What you see in blue is our teams whose job is only to make medicine. The team in the red circle, their job is to go up the S-curve. That's all they think about. How do we improve the technology? The guys in the blue circles, we tell them, don't try to whine that you need something else. Use the current OS, and you come up with the best drug that you can. And so they are developing their own drugs, but they're also, for every one of those nodes, getting as many partners as they can to create that network effect. We have added a couple more this year, the Gates Foundation in January, Vertex in early July, with our third deal with Merck. We like when big pharma come back again for more, because they know us, they know the technology. It makes it much faster to get a new set of drugs working with them. The other thing that is quite special about the company is we keep on exploring. The green circle, it's our venture lab. It's a team who does not try to improve the technology. They do not try to make new medicine. They just try messenger RNA in new things. And their track record is amazing. They gave us vaccines. For the first 3 years of the company, we did not know we could make vaccine. They invented how to make vaccine. They recently invented how to get mRNA into the lung. And so we got this new partnership with Vertex working on cystic fibrosis. So this is an interesting piece of our business model. The thing that is interesting is when you put all those things together, building a highly scalable enterprise, cloud-based informatics with automation, and you build a team that you can scale with this network effect of capital coming into the company, you can really create exponential growth. The thing that is sometimes scary is if we wanted, we could have 200 drugs in development tomorrow. We're not mature enough, we're not there yet enough to manage all that complexity, but there's nothing that limits us to do even more. So let me try to just show you a few examples of what we can do with this technology that is really amazing. So the way we think about it is you have this set of blocks, tool blocks, technology blocks. And depending on how you use them, how you put them together, you can make different families of drugs. Okay? So I'm going to try to walk you through different families of drugs. The thing that is really interesting and very different from anything that has been done in biotech is the following. As we said in the pharma world, it's an analog-like world. Every drug, you reinvent everything from scratch. Here, to do the discovery and the development of a first drug in a new family takes a lot of time. And we don't know how long it's going to take because it's true discovery. Sometimes it might take 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. But what is super cool is once you made the first one work, because of the robotics and because mRNA is like software, the second, the third, the fourth, the sixth drugs is like this, just a matter of months. And that's the beauty of Moderna that has not been done before. So first family, vaccines. So what we do here, I'm going to go very quickly. Just as a sidebar, the y-axis is a log scale. So it's got 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. What you see in light gray is just water. In dark gray is a regular vaccine you can buy at CVS. And in blue is our product. So 2 things that we noticed when we tried the first time in the venture lab. Number 1, instead of having reached the red line is what FDA use every year to approve seasonal flu vaccines that you get a shot in the early fall. The commercial vaccine, as you can see in dark gray, it takes them 5 weeks to work, to get above the red line. Our vaccines made it in 1 week. And 5 weeks out, you can see 10 to 100 times more protein made for antibodies to protect you when you get a viral infection. The data was so incredible that we did not believe the data. And we asked the team, go back, throw the mRNA in the kitchen sink, do it again, because this is not possible. And so they did it again, and it came back the same thing. So we say, okay, this might not protect animals. Let's try into a lethal challenge, where the guys in the green line, this is a survival curve where you see days and % survival. The guys in the green line, they got water. And when you give them the challenge, as you can see, 8 days after you give them a virus at a very high dose, they're all dead. Sorry, 90% are dead, 10% survived. And the animals who got the vaccine, 100% survived. So based on that, we did a deal with Merck to help us get this to the clinic. We already have 2 vaccines in clinical trial that we have not disclosed which they are. And we have many more coming in the next month because mRNA is like software, and once you do the first one, the second one is much easier. Family number 2 of medicines, immunotherapy. I assume most of you have read in the New York Times a few weeks ago on a Sunday, Wall Street Journal almost every day, this whole new field of cancer, which is amazing, immunotherapy, teaching your immune system to go eat your tumor. This is a picture of a tumor cell with your immune system cells going eating your tumor. The thing that is amazing about it is that when it works, the patient for who it works, it's a complete remission. No more cancer, no more metastases. It's unbelievable when you look at the scans. But it only works in 10, 20, 30% of the patients, depending on the type of cancers. We don't know why yet, but the industry is doing a lot of things to get to that learning and to get more drugs to the clinic. We will have our first mRNA drugs next spring in the field of immuno-oncology. And we did several partnerships with AstraZeneca, who has a leading presence in oncology. Family number 3, which was a crazy idea that a year and 3 months ago we didn't even think about. It's when my new chief medical officer walked in that he said, you guys can do hundreds of mRNAs a day. I said, yeah. He's like, there's this new field of immuno-oncology out there, like the PD-1 inhibitor I just showed you. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know, sequencing somebody is very cheap now. And we're like, yeah. And you guys have a vaccine that has a very strong T-cell response, which is the part of your immune system that's very important. And we're like, yeah. It's like, why don't we put it all together? Where when somebody has cancer, you sequence a biopsy of that tumor, you sequence a healthy cell, you compare them through bioinformatics, and you make a personalized cancer vaccine for you with literally your name on it that's designed for your tumor. If you have cancer again 5, 10 years from now, if it's a different cancer, we'll make another one for you. We can do all that in 30 days. In 30 days, a product for you. This can be later expanded to ultra-rare disease. We make a drug for one kid that's literally dying in a hospital. We can make this for immune disease. We can use that ability to make drugs for one human being, because mRNA is like software. You cannot do that with any other technology. We had great discussion with the FDA, and we're on our way to take this to a clinic. This will be in a clinic with Merck that signed our third partnership earlier this year. This will be next year in the clinic, combined with checkpoint inhibitor, Keytruda, which is the PD-1 checkpoint from Merck. 4 family of products. And remember, every family, there are dozens of drugs behind it. So family 4 is rare genetic disease. Of course, this is actually where we started the company. Thinking if you have a defect in your DNA and you are missing a protein that is very important for your health, we can give you messenger RNA coding for that exact protein that is damaged in your DNA. So this is one example that our partner Alexion is taking to the clinic. It's a disease called Crigler-Najjar that most probably, of course, most of you do not know. It's a rare disease. It's a mutation on the gene UGT1A1. The bottom line is those kids have a toxic substance that their liver cannot process, that accumulate in the blood and do a lot of brain damage. The only thing that the scientific community has found to save those kids or to keep them alive is to expose them 10 to 12 hours every day of phototherapy. But because as they grow older and their body mass increases, it becomes less and less effective and they end up dying in early years of adulthood. So what we've done, and I'm not trying to have you look at the whole graph, but what we have done is the ability to inject every 2 weeks 1 dose of mRNA. And then you live exactly like normal. So this was presented by our partner Alexion, and this is a product that will be going to the clinic. 5th family might be the most science fiction-like. Regenerative medicine. Could you inject 1 dose of messenger RNA for a growth protein to regrow heart tissue after a heart attack? So far, we have been able to do it in animals. So same, you have survival curve. This is 1 year on the x-axis. And you can see in blue, the animals who only get water. The survival, because their heart gets so damaged, they die of heart failure, they cannot pump blood effectively anymore, and they die, 20% survive after 1 year. Interesting, because of gene therapy we talked about, if you do it with gene therapy, which is the green line, you kill them faster than water. Why? Because you inject the gene therapy for VEGF, and it keeps making without stopping the VEGF, and there's so many heart tissue that grow, the animals end up dying. And this is what they tried with 1 dose of messenger RNA. This has been published in Nature Biotech by one of our co-founders. 1 dose within 48 hours after the heart attack. It takes 10 minutes to go. You just inject 2 catheters, 1 for a video, 1 for a joystick-like needle that's going into your heart. You take it out, put Band-Aid, and you're done. 10 minutes, in and out, same day. Look at the impact. It has been reproduced in large animal, and the thing that we're super excited about is what it does to your heart. So what you see at the top, in the blue section on the left, on your left ventricle, is a heart attack, how it damaged your tissue for the animals who got treated with water. What you see at the bottom is the animals who got treated with messenger RNA. It has regrown their tissue exactly if they did not have a heart attack. And we partnered this program with AstraZeneca, who is one of the leaders in cardiology. And we announced in July that we filed all the documentation, all the tox animal study to the German authorities. And this will start clinical trial this year, later in the fall in Germany. So we're extremely excited about this program. So when you put all those things together, you can see that the breadth and the speed at which we are making medicine is very unique. What my team did on this slide, over actually the Christmas break, they compared us to the best companies in the business. You can look at the names on the bottom right, Amgen, Gilead, Regeneron, the best companies in the industry. And what you see here on the x-axis is number of years since company were founded. And on the y-axis, what you see is number of new drugs in the clinic. Not the same drugs for different indication, new different medicine in the clinic. And what you see is where we're going to be at the end of this year. So Moderna just passed 5 years old. So at 5 years in July, we had 2 drugs in the clinic already. And by the end of this year, based on the files we've submitted, we should have 6 drugs in the clinic, in the clinical trial. But as you got a sense from the previous slides, each of those families of medicine are just getting started. So I can't wait to see what the graph is going to look like in the next coming years. So I believe we are just getting warmed up. The company just passed 5 years old in July, but as you have seen, the hard part was behind us. Doing the basic work about the technology, building the manufacturing infrastructure to be able to do clinical trial grade material, which is not easy for new technology, developing all the quality control tests and so on. Now that we've scaled the company, we can really go full speed. So what we're trying to do is really something that has never been done before, which is to bring dozens and dozens and dozens of medicines to patients very quickly. We are doing this by really building the company to learn faster than anybody, to be the mRNA company in the world. We want, in a few years' time, when people want to do a drug, where the science lead you to mRNA, that they just pick the phone, that literally I do not need a BD team anymore, that they just pick the phone and they want to do deal with us. It will change from the time in the early days where we had to beg people to do deals with us. Now people are starting to call, which is very exciting. And because of the breadth of what we can do, we are very ambitious about the potential of a company and what we want to make of Moderna, but we're also very humble that we don't want those drugs to fail. We don't want those drugs to be held from patients. And so because of this problem of abundance that we have, our strategy is to develop some drugs by ourselves with our own capital and our own teams, and some of our drugs just to partner with best-in-class company, best-in-the-world company, as you can see on that list, which is expanding as we speak, to help us because of their expertise in clinical trial, in regulatory, in commercial, so that we maximize the impact of a company. We have 450 people at the company now, 500 by the end of the year. I think there's around 100 jobs open on our website. We have $1 billion of cash in the bank today, which is quite remarkable. The market cap of most biotech company is $100, $200 million, the market cap. No debt. More than 90 primary discovery, 2 in the clinic, and 4 coming for the remaining of the year. If I look at the next 10 years, what excites me the most? So what excites me the most is that for the first time in the history of biology and medicine, it is going exponential. I have a chance to live in Cambridge. Moderna is a block away from MIT, a block away from the Broad in the other direction. This has never happened before. Sequencing, the cloud, AI, all the things we're talking about here are all converging, and they're all building on each other. Moderna could not have been built 10 years ago. Just a silly example, today I can sequence every product I make. It costs me $5. Because the product was designed in the drug design studio, all the sequence, all the instructions for the protein is in the cloud. So what we do, we have a computer compare all the base. Nobody looks at it, because the answer is either it's the same or it is not. It's not half pregnant. So this is something that is very exciting for us, is what we can do, and there are a lot of companies around the country, and a lot actually in Boston, that are being started that could not have existed 5-10 years ago. What is also very interesting is that there's a lot of financing sources out there if you have a great team and a great technology. Just the 4 top VCs in Boston, they raised $2 billion of capital in 2015. But what is very interesting, if you use Moderna example, only $12 million of the $1.4 billion we raised came from VC. So you can see the leverage that you can get by having corporate sponsors from big pharma, institutional investors, a big family office, and so on, investing and giving you leverage through that investment. I believe in the field of biotech, the US is really best positioned for this exponential revolution. The rule of law is super important when all your business is around IP and the ability to protect your IP. The quality of education is unrivaled in the world, quality of academic research, VC financing, talent that are willing to take risks with their career and try things, risk-taking mindset. I really believe, even though I grew up in Europe, I lived in Japan for 4 years, I believe Moderna could not have been even as successful as the US by a factor of 10x. We feel very fortunate of what's happening to us. We feel very fortunate for patients and our society, what's happening across the industry. And I cannot wait to see the next 10 years because I really believe we're going to see really some amazing progress in medicine. So please, do not die in the next 5-10 years. We have solutions coming up for you. Thank you.
Terrific. So, a quick question, and then we'll open up to all of you for some questions about this talk or any of the earlier ones. So, you're a disruptive player in this space. What have you learned, even trying to work and educate the FDA, which is arguably more of a linear organization?
Yeah, actually, the FDA has been, I have to say, amazing. And if you look at what the FDA has done in the last 5-10 years, I think they have already transformed a lot. They have drugs now in immuno-oncology that have been approved in 3 years. It used to take 10-15 years from first patient dose in a phase 1 to drug being approved, 3 years. I think the agency has become very, very good at weighting risk and reward. So if you come with the 6th or 7th statin, the bar is in the sky because you really have to prove a safety. But when you come with the first drug for cancer, for a rare disease where a kid is dying, for a vaccine that does not exist, they really look at the risk-reward in a very thoughtful way. And we've had many interactions with them in infectious disease, in cancer. It has been very constructive and very positive. We're extremely delighted.
I was in Washington, D.C. about 2 months ago for the Cancer Moonshot Summit led by Vice President Biden. And one of the sort of key elements, they want to do 10 years worth of oncology progress in 5. It was not just the technology, but aligning folks like the FDA to fast-track drugs, or the patent office to do smarter IP, or to incentivize data sharing amongst pharma and academia and patient groups. So a lot of it is layering on the incentives and the structure.
Yes, and I think the companies have a duty, but also a responsibility to educate those agencies. You know, we have gone to the USPTO, the US Patent Office, and teach them about messenger RNA and how complicated it is. We have gone to FDA and have scientific seminars, in addition to the regular, I would say, more product meeting, just again to have a dialogue and education. At the end of the day, it's people. You know, they all have an obligation, a society, government responsibility, and I think they really want to do good, and we have a role to educate them.
Great. Couple questions. Anyone from the participants here want to make a comment, question? Shout it out. We'll see if we can get you a mic in the meantime.
It's a great question. We are trying to reinvent everything we do. And as you saw in what we did in discovery with all this access to IT and tools and so on, we're doing exactly the same thing in clinical trial to get access to technology. In terms of the second part of your question regarding emerging markets, we are working with several companies and foundations like the Gates Foundation to find a smart business model that are kind of win-win. And part of what we've done with the Gates for the products we are doing against HIV is we are committing to provide to the Gates Foundation or any foundation for the Gavi countries, which are the poorest countries in the world, at cost plus 10%. And we basically we make a profit on the product in the developed market. But we think that this technology has so much to offer that we want to work a lot with governments and foundations to get those things out. I was talking to a group last night, and I was saying what happened with Ebola last year, what's happening right now with Zika, should not happen. We should, as a society, when a new virus emerged, you know, Zika was 1962, should start just right away a program against a vaccine, you know, freeze, 100,000 vials, and be ready when something happens to just put everything on a plane and contain it. And we have to really work with foundations, governments, industry, together. None of us can do it alone.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.